Hey, welcome to day 100 of the Starting a Software Company in 100 Days project, which is now morphed into starting a software product in about 100 days. And so day 100 is, a little bit anticlimactic. We are still plugging along. We weren't going to get the software in a state that was viable. So a minimum viable product or the simple, lovable, complete. The viability and the completeness just weren't to the point where I was satisfied with it, and a lot of it had to do with me spending too much time focusing on the fork logic, which I'll talk about here in a second. The decision tree UI. We spent about a month on that, where I think we could have spent probably about 10, a week and a half to 2 weeks on a different version of it, which I think would have got us really close to the finish line. So with that, it's fun to spend 100 days working on a new project, but it's not at the completed state, and it's a fair ways away from any sort of a public launch. And so, just to show you some of the stuff we've worked on, I was clicking around in Playbook here the last hour or so. Just a bunch of great functionality we've added. We can activate different processes. We can build the processes. We can manage them. We can set them up as recurring. We can complete them. We can dive into them. There's some UI work that needs to be done, as I've mentioned in prior videos. We're going to have somebody jump into the UI design in approximately 2 weeks. But we've just added a lot of stuff to this software that over the last 100 days and built a pretty impressive tool that we've started using internally at my other software company, which is called Harvest Profit. One of the things I want to set up recurring tasks so we can, every couple of weeks we need to go into our software documentation and ensure that it's updated. We want to reach out to certain subsets of customers every couple of weeks, and some of it might be we don't just want to rely on email. We want to send out letters. We want to do things that are a little more personal. And so we want to have manual tasks. And really what we've been working on the last couple of days is conditional logic. And so if we have a set of tasks, we can show them or hide them by default. And then we can set up basically task triggers to either show or hide those tasks based on certain attributes that are in fields such as drop downs or multiple choices. And the example I like to use is in Harvest Profit for our customer onboarding. We get to a point where we need to ensure that the customer is onboarded. And so that might be something like they've logged in 4 times and they've filled out a certain feature. And if they haven't, so if we have that be a drop down, are they onboarded? Do they meet this criteria? Yes or no? And if it's no, we can all of a sudden show, 1, 2, 3, 4 triage tasks. We need to go and triage that customer. We need to help them. We need to call them. We need to manually email them, put them into a manual email sequence, send them a letter, send them a postcard. Basically, just trying to get creative on how we manage these tasks, and that conditional logic will help us accomplish that. So that was one of the that we should have started with that version of conditional logic versus if then decision tree. And so that's really one of the big things on my mind is how do we fit the UI of Harvest Profit to that new structure, not Harvest Profit, but Playbook, the new structure of building tasks and managing lists of tasks. And so that's really, I'm going to share with you 5 things that are top of mind to me. Number 1, new process creation UI. I will show you that here. New process description. This process description is a rich text editor that we added. It was a simple text editor before. We used to have fixed due dates, and now we have more of a flexible due date. So we can say we want this process to be done 9 days after it's initiated. Let's just call this a customer service, so we can tag processes and we can search and filter processes that are either in templates or that are in inactive state by those tags. We can assign our good old trusty employee Sam Smith, our fake employee we use in this, and then we can create our processes. So you'll see here, this is the version of Playbook that is the UI doesn't match the new way of doing things here. So task number 1, new, we save it, we build task number 2. We could say this is also another example of dynamic due dates. We can say we want this due date to be 1 day after task number 1 is completed, or we can set it to after the process has been initiated. So another example of dynamic due dates. So we go ahead and save that. And as you see, this workflow, this builder is more, it was built and designed for a UI that has the different decision forks. And we may add it back, but for now, we need to redesign this in more of a table format with rows, groups of tasks, and really that's top of mind is rebuilding the UI, and I've started on that for this particular feature. Number 2 is we need to basically freeze the features. A product like this is broad enough that it can be worked on in a lot of different, we could just, we're going to be working on it in perpetuity, assuming that we reach some level of success. But for this initial MVP, we need to freeze the features, and I'm targeting to do that around day 120. So by day maybe 140, that'll be our kind of intermediate term finish line. Number 3, what's top of mind is we're going to focus on the niche that we've built. And that is, hang on one second, I was going to show you my little friend here. My unnamed friend is this little tiny 4-pound cat that we found the other night that we're nursing back to health. So we don't really have a name, but we're going to rehome it. Getting it, hopefully we can add some weight to it, and the poor little thing is whining here. But I've turned into a little bit of softy, and it's couldn't let that little cat that we found out on a walk stay out and face a potential storm that we're going to have in North Dakota. So if you can hear the little cat, it's ready to eat some food. Thank goodness. So with that, Harvest Profit is a tool that's focused on farming, agriculture, a lot of people running large businesses, a lot of repeatable tasks. And so we're going to reach out and conduct some jobs to be done surveys on that customer base. And with that top of mind, starting to do some research on people that are thought leaders in this jobs to be done framework of building software, building products their customers like. The Basecamp team is putting out a seminar that includes this gentleman who's a real expert on jobs to be done and that methodology of scoping out software features. And so I'm going to be doing some more research there as we focus on our initial niche and really ask them, have you looked for a tool like this? Are you using a tool like this? What are the repeatable processes that you put in place? How are you currently managing things? And basically just doing some more customer development that we did here 60, 70 days ago that uncovered that our conditional logic methodology was wrong and allowed us to pivot towards this new form of conditional logic that I've described to you. And so that jobs to be done is a big one for us. That is another priority. And that is number 4 on our list, which is kind of a combination of the focusing on a niche. And then number 5 is just launch. We just need to launch this thing. I messed up my colors here, but yeah, number 5 is just getting a public facing product out so the world can judge it, so we can learn from real world feedback. At the end of the day, we can iterate on it over and over. We can do surveys over and over, but judging real world use is the real judge of a product, and that is really the focus on the 5th level of focused. But happy with where we've gotten. It's definitely anticlimactic. There is no public launch. I'm disappointed in my initial customer development on the features that we spent a bunch of time specking out and designing were somewhat off the mark and allowed us to, unfortunately, we spent quite a bit of time investing in those features. So day 100 isn't a big celebration, isn't a public launch, but we're okay with that. We're going to move forward and probably tone down the frequency of these videos and go from 5 to 7 per week to more like 1 or 2 per week. We're going to keep you in the loop on lessons that we're learning, progress we're making, and hopefully you can learn from us in the future. So with that said, we will talk to you soon and would love to have you keep following along on our journey and comment, like videos, interact, and if there's anything I can do to help you, I'm very active in the comments, what comments there are. So thank you once again, and we will talk to you soon.